You didn't know it from reading the news already. This country really has gone to shit. Making jokes about the president in America shouldn't win you a prize. We have the right, guaranteed by the Constitution, to criticize and satirize our leaders. This is a right that many of us take for granted. It's one that I took for granted for the first 57 years of my life until September of last year when the FCC delivered a very unpleasant surprise.
He won a Peabody Award for making fun of the president. Then he watched his best friend get canceled. And now he's standing on stage in front of the entire entertainment industry, saying the quiet part out loud. Late-night television isn't dying. It's being murdered. And Jimmy Kimmel knows who did it. For over 2 decades, Jimmy Kimmel Live has been one of the last places on American television where you could say the unsayable, where you could look directly into the camera, call the most powerful man in the country a liar, and laugh while doing it. 22 years, more than 4,000 episodes, multiple presidents, one very memorable feud. But right now, in the summer of 2026, something has shifted. Something that can't be walked back. And Kimmel himself is telling you this is almost over. 6 years ago, Kimmel told ABC executives he thought he was done. That was when Joe Biden was in office. That was when late nights still felt safe. He stayed. He kept going. He kept swinging. Then September 2025 happened, and everything changed. After conservative activist Charlie Kirk was killed, Kimmel made a comment on air. Not a threat, not a call to violence. A comment. Within hours, the FCC chairman Brendan Carr went on record urging ABC to, quote, find ways to take action on Kimmel. Minutes later, Nexstar, which owns 32 ABC affiliates across the country, pulled his show entirely. Gone. Dark. ABC followed. Disney, the parent company, suspended Jimmy Kimmel Live indefinitely, calling his remarks insensitive. Think about that for a second. A late-night host suspended by a major television network because a government official made a phone call. The show came back a week later, but the message had already been sent, and Kimmel heard it. Now, here's where it gets darker. Because Kimmel's suspension wasn't happening in isolation, it was happening at the exact same moment that CBS was quietly deciding the fate of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. In July 2025, CBS announced Colbert's show would end in May 2026. They called it a financial decision. They said it was purely about money, that the show was losing $40 million a year. That's the official story. But there are receipts that complicate that narrative. In 2023, CBS had reportedly offered Colbert a 5-year contract. He took 3 years instead. And then suddenly, 1 year before that deal was even up, the plug got pulled. Colbert himself told The Hollywood Reporter he doesn't have definitive proof his cancellation was political. But he said it plainly. He thinks it's the most likely explanation. What was happening in the background? The Paramount-Skydance merger. A massive corporate deal that needed regulatory approval from the same Trump administration that Colbert had been relentlessly skewering. And right in the middle of all of that, CBS settled a lawsuit with the Trump administration over a 60 Minutes interview. Critics called it a surrender. Then, almost immediately after the settlement, The Late Show got the axe. Draw your own conclusions. Colbert said his final goodnight on May 21, 2026, in a symbolic act of solidarity. Kimmel went dark that same night. No new episode. Just silence. And then Kimmel spoke. I feel a little bit defeated by it, he told Vulture in an interview published June 1st. In a lot of ways, I feel like I'm looking at my own future. That's not a joke. That's not a bit. That's a man who has spent 22 years on television, watching the walls close in. Just days before that interview, Kimmel stood at the Peabody Awards, one of the most prestigious honors in media, and accepted an award for his political commentary, the commentary that got him suspended. The jokes that almost got him fired. Standing at that podium, he said something extraordinary.
Thank you, Ben. I have to say I felt pretty dumb a lot of times in my life, but I've never felt dumber than I do right now, being on stage with this group of people who expose the horrors of ICE, prison abuse, and protests against the Vietnam War, a teacher who took on Putin. I called our president Fatty Shack. And Blob the Builder, and Liger Woods, and the Hungry Hungry Hypocrite, our fondling father, Mar-a-Lardo, Nelson Tandela, and Nostradamus. And somehow we got a Peabody out of that.
Making jokes about the president in America shouldn't win you a prize. We have the right, guaranteed by the Constitution, to criticize and satirize our leaders. That right nearly got taken from him, and he won a Peabody for defending it. He thanked the audience, the viewers who marched, who spoke up, who canceled their streaming subscriptions, who refused to let the silence stand. He said they sent a message, that they care, that they will not be bulldozed.
It's something that surprised me even more. I watched as millions of people, even some from across the aisle, objected. They spoke up, they marched, they canceled their subscriptions to Star Wars because they refused to allow our freedoms to be bulldozed like the East Wing of the White House. They sent a message, you sent a message that we do care and that we will stand up and that we will not stand by when comedy and journalism and dissent are censored and regulated and criminalized. Right, Guillermo?
Right, Jimmy.
Thank you.
But behind that speech is a man who is tired. And now comes the part that insiders have been whispering about for weeks. Kimmel recently signed a one-year contract extension with ABC. His show will run through May 2027. 1 year, not 3 like his previous deal, not 5, 1. An insider close to the production told journalist Rob Shooter what that number actually means. Jimmy signed that one-year extension on purpose. It wasn't advertised that way, but everyone at ABC knows exactly what it means. This is his last lap. Full stop. The audience has shifted to streaming. The ratings have changed. The political climate has made doing this job feel less like comedy and more like combat. And there's one more detail that sounds almost too cinematic to be real. According to sources, Kimmel has a specific idea for his final episode, his final guest. The man he's been trading insults with for nearly a decade. The man who publicly celebrated his suspension. The man whose nicknames Kimmel turned into award-winning television, Donald Trump. He thinks ending with Trump would be the ultimate finale, a source said. One last laugh. One last headline. Whether that actually happens is another story entirely. Trump has called Kimmel's humor nasty. He's accused him of perpetuating political violence. The FCC pressure campaign against him was backed by people in Trump's orbit. But, in a way, that tension is exactly the point. That's the whole story of late night in 2025 and 2026. Hosts who refuse to go quiet. Networks that blinked. Government officials who made calls they probably shouldn't have made. And a slow, structural dismantling of the one format on American television that was built specifically to speak truth to power in a suit and a monologue. Colbert is gone. Kimmel is counting down. The Late Show franchise has been retired forever. Is this just the natural evolution of television? Or is something more deliberate happening? A calculated pressure campaign, designed to silence the loudest voices in late night before the next election cycle? Kimmel didn't mince words. "We're not just dying of natural causes," he said. "We're being poised. Someone is making these decisions. Someone is signing off on the cancellations and the suspensions and the regulatory threats. And so far, nobody has been held accountable." Who do you think is really behind the death of late night? Drop your answer in the comments and subscribe to Celebzova for more industry exposés, scandal breakdowns, and the stories the networks don't want you connecting.